From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Right now, all eyes are on one very pregnant cow.
It's hundreds of thousands of people a day are looking at it. It's in the millions per week.
We'll have an update on the heifer known as number 88, weathering the storms.
By building in resilience, it has really helped me survive drought.
See what producers are doing to protect their ranches from natural disasters as our Trust in Food Sustainable Ranchers Tour continues. As new details are released about the House's version of the Farm Bill, some key provisions that could impact producers right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when experience meets expertise. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. We're learning more about what House Ag Committee leaders would like to see in the next Farm Bill. They include boosts in reference prices and two key pay cap provisions. Now here's a look at those reference prices, which will see a 10 to 20% rise across all commodities. For crop insurance, there would be increased coverage options, especially for young, beginning, and veteran farmers. The supplemental coverage option would cover 90% of the expected county yield and be subsidized at 80%, and there are two pay limit provisions. Now, one would allow farmers to get the same treatment if they are in an LLC as those in general partnerships. The second would mean operations that get 75% of their income from farming are eligible for a payment limit of $155,000. Now that's up from $125,000. House Ag Committee Chairman Republican G.T. Thompson telling AgriTalk the bill will clear the planned May 23rd markup in the House Ag Committee.
My recommendation with leadership is, the strategy to the floor, we need to wait and see what the vote is. I know it's going to pass, but the pathway to the floor, the strategy to use will, if it's a strong bipartisan bill, which it should be, because, the great innovations within this bill came from both sides of the aisle, and quite frankly, even more importantly, from the agriculture industry itself. But if it passes with overwhelming bipartisan support, that's a potential one pathway. If it's, moderate bipartisan support, that would maybe, that would basically dictate maybe some other considerations.
And it looks like there is work to be done to reach consensus. While the bill says it would support SNAP access to families formerly disallowed from receiving benefits, including those with past drug offenses, House Ag Committee Ranking Member Democrat David Scott releasing a statement saying the draft confirms his worst fear that, quote, House Republicans plan to pay for the farm bill by taking food out of the mouths of America's hungry children, restricting farmers from receiving the climate-smart conservation funding they so desperately need, and barring the USDA from providing financial assistance to farmers in times of crisis, end quote. He says a freeze in the cost of the Thrifty Food Plan will mean a $27 billion reduction in food purchasing power over the next decade and would increase hunger and impact jobs. Now, the current draft of the House bill is 942 pages long. A U.S. company that says it will be the first in the world to make sustainable aviation fuel from ethanol plans to start making the fuel during the second quarter of the year. We first told you about the LanzaJet fuel plant in Georgia when it held its grand opening back in January. Now, the company says its ethanol will be a critical feedstock for SAF, and when coupled with its technology, it says it can make SAF from a variety of waste inputs and residues, including municipal solid waste and e-fuels. After several rounds of rain last week and corn planting running behind, will farmers be able to get out into fields this week? Meteorologist Martin Lorimore joins us with an update.
Yeah, that's right, Clinton. We are going to be seeing that possibility for some strong to severe weather yet again. Luckily, it's not going to be in the deep south like it was earlier last week, where they had that strong to severe weather and bringing in possibly the large amount of flooding they had across a lot of the south. But we are going to see that classic severe weather setup into our Monday across the central plains and parts of the northern plains as well. This could stretch into parts of the Corn Belt. And as we get into our Tuesday, this threat level will expand both north and south, making its way all the way up toward Lake Michigan and stretching all the way down to nearly Oklahoma City. So we're looking looking to be next couple of days, that Monday and Tuesday specifically for that strong to severe weather. Here's that threat level right there on that Monday and Tuesday. You can see it swinging down across parts of the nation into that Wednesday. That threat level could continue across parts of the Rust Belt and even into parts of the eastern seaboard as we get into our Wednesday and Thursday. So something definitely notable as we head in the next several days. If you got that planting you need to do, make sure to watch out as you're going to be seeing that rainfall over the next several days. And we've got right here Corey Peters getting some planting done. There he is getting some of that seed into the ground as the sun sets in Randolph, Manitoba. Hope you guys up north are having a good time. Here in the U.S., still waiting to get some of that planting done. Plenty of rain. I'll be talking more about it. Of course, look at that beautiful way to end the day. I'll have more in the forecast coming up.
The annual Wheat Quality Council's Hard Red Winter Wheat Tour wrapped up last week. After making several stops across Kansas, scouts predicting the highest yield for the state since 2021, finding an estimated Kansas wheat yield of 46.6 bushels to the acre. That's above the 5-year average of 42.4 bushels to the acre. Scouts reporting, however, that crop quality varied drastically across the state, finding wheat in the drier south central and southwestern portions in the worst conditions. Continuing our Trust in Food Sustainable Ranchers Tour, Texas ranchers are no strangers to adversity. Many operations have endured for several generations through various weather disasters. However, as AgDay's Michelle Rook discovered, they're also trying to be more proactive at mitigating climate and stress-proofing their operations for the future.
Cattle producers here in Texas are working hard to preserve their operations for the future from various threats, including the recent drought here in the southern plains, all the way to things like land encroachment. The GBRC Ranch weathered 3 years of consecutive drought without deep culling of their cattle herd. The Ellises attribute it to their sustainability and regenerative agriculture practices.
By building in resilience, it has really helped me survive drought. It has helped me survive flooding situations, right? And so, we can talk about species conservation, carbon sequestration, water quality and quantity, but that all has a direct effect on my bottom line.
So soil health, in a sense, drought proofs our ranches. If our soil is healthy, it can take in more water, so we have a higher effective rainfall, and we have healthier plants that are better able to withstand the drought.
To accomplish those sustainability goals takes preparation and a sound plan that's different for every producer.
What's that optimum for you as a producer, as an operator? What are your goals and objectives, and how can I meet those and either sustain or increase the conservation and the ecosystem for the natural resources while continuing to be productive for agriculture and for a growing world.
Another threat to Texas producers is urban sprawl, which is causing a loss of water, open spaces, and the freedom to operate.
One of our biggest challenges here in Texas really starts of we're gaining 1,400 people moving to this state daily. We're losing over 1,000 acres a day of our working lands that we see behind us that are providing those goods and services to the public.
In fact, in North America, only 20% of the grassland ecosystem remains.
That's something that I'm deeply concerned about, is keeping working lands working, right? Because the more we lose, the less species we have, the less water quality and availability we have, and the more carbon that's locked in our rangelands is released when we develop it or we convert it to cropland.
And that's why she and other landowners are fighting hard to preserve it and develop succession plans to pass it on better than they found it.
At the end of the day, they want to do what's right. They want to care for the land, and they want to pass it on to the next generation. That's what we hear time and time again, and to give their children and in the world something better.
I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
Surging wholesale prices push cattle up to end the week. Michelle Rook will be right back to talk about that coming up. And later, are you keeping watch on number 88 like so many people are? A look at a cow that's become a social media sensation in the country. Soybeans managed to make some gains on Friday while cattle continue to push higher. Michelle Rook is ahead with a preview of this week in Markets Now.
Well, grains closed out the week mixed with soybeans higher and the feed grains lower. Jim McCormick is joining us with agmarket.net. So, Jim, let's talk about soybeans. Why were we higher all alone on Friday? Was that still this South American play? Because the products were really strong.
Right now, it's two things that are really driving the bean market. It is the South America, continued flooding in Brazil. This story kind of hit a couple weeks ago. The market reacted to it. Michelle then backed off again. It is now coming to the forefront again. The debate is between 3 to 5 million metric tons of lost production, but you're also dealing with infrastructure problems, the ability to produce meal and oil. So that's catching a bit. And the other story we're seeing it's kind of bringing life to the bean market is this used cooking oil tariff. We saw that here about a week ago. It was not in the tariffs that President Biden announced earlier in the week, but that story has a life of its own. It's coming back at it again.
Yeah, we certainly heard that several times. What about corn and wheat? They moved lower in tandem. We had several times last week where we went up, hit chart resistance, and couldn't take it out and kind of failed, though, right?
That's it. Wheat could not sustain its upward movement. The stories of dryness issues in Russia, frost issues in Russia seem to be priced in at this point. The fact is we're just not competitively priced on the world market. When the prices rallied in wheat, it made us even less competitive. I think that led to the weakness in the wheat. Corn, the reality is they're just getting an opening window to get this crop planted. Now, the record planting pace for corn, best time ever, was about 43% of the crop was planted back in 2013. I think we're going to see a pretty big window of the window here we're going to jump through it. And you can see planting progress closer to 75%, keeping us right at the 5-year pace, which I think is what the trade is focusing on and led to the pressure.
So, Jim, if we see planting pace on corn even close to normal on Monday, do you think that we are going to see the corn market kind of take out some of these key support areas that we're barely holding?
Especially if the weather is still relatively mild and we continue to get crops planted. But I don't think it's going to be a complete free fall, Michelle, because of the reality is a lot of farmers who are planting this crop, they're slamming it in and far from ideal conditions. So I think you will hear a lot of people talk about emergence problems and issues like that. So I think we probably have one more shot up down the line.
Thanks for joining us, Jim McCormick, AgMarket.net. We'll have more AgDay coming up. Watch Markets Now with Michelle Rourke on the Farm Journal YouTube channel, keeping you updated throughout the day on the markets at the open, midday, and close. Find out what moved the markets today and what to expect the market to do next.
To contact Jim McCormick at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net.
Yeah, welcome back. It is going to be a hot next couple of days, not just in the south. You can actually start to see 80s stretching into all the way into parts of Michigan, northern Michigan, in fact. Going to be seeing those temperatures reaching up into the 80s. Look at that, Cincinnati, St. Louis, near 90 degrees and triple digits yet again in parts of Texas and into New Mexico, places that really do need some of that rainfall. As we get into our overnight tonight, temperatures not really cooling down. Look at that, Chicago only getting to 64 degrees. And by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon, triple digits are back. Brownsville, 110. That's not even factoring in your heat index either. It's going to be a warm next couple of days, but we're also still watching for that possibility of the drought monitor. This is the newer one that came out this Thursday. Still seeing parts of western Kansas in that severe. It is a little bit better. They were in the extreme the last round for this drought monitor, and of course got a lot of those winter wheat crops there in parts of western Kansas. So we're hoping that condition still improves, and we are looking at rainfall still over the next several days. And the precipitation over the next week or so, still seeing again a little bit of that rainfall. Maybe not as much as they're wanting, but look at how much rain they're going to be seeing across parts of eastern Oklahoma and parts of Arkansas. A lot of my stomping grounds going to be seeing upwards to 2, 3, possibly 4 inches of rain this next week. So the possibility of flooding is going to be there as we get into our Monday. You can see where that threat level for severe weather is going to be matching up on that Monday, continuing into that Tuesday, encompassing a lot of the Corn Belt and parts of the Rust Belt and the Great Lakes. Be seeing that possibility for that flooding there into your Tuesday. So here's that culprit. You can see it. There's that low pressure, this ridge that's really moving its way through. Sorry, the trough that's moving through. There's that ridge down to the south, though. And you can see as this trough makes its way through on that Tuesday, sparking up the possibility for severe weather, we start getting a little more linear in the jet stream. That's going to help us out a lot, keeping things calmer as we head into our midweek. But you're already looking at it. There's that next low moving its way in. This right here could upset a couple things in the Rockies and maybe even make its way into parts of the south as we head into that next weekend. Ellie, Minnesota. It's going to be a cool one, high only 60 degrees. Looking at some of those showers. Como, Colorado, much cooler, high 52 degrees, high elevation for sure. And finally, Suwanee, Tennessee, much warmer, mostly sunny, high 80 degrees.
Ag equipment sales can go hand in hand with the sale of big construction equipment. Machinery Pete checks out those prices.
Well, the 34 and a half years I've been tracking auction sale prices, all that time have been tracking prices on all types of heavy construction equipment. Now, I don't tend to talk and write about them as much, but we have tons of pricing on all that type of equipment. And I tell you, the last couple of years, one very strong sector has been wheel loaders. Now, if we isolate down to just one model, let's say a Deere 524K, I've actually seen 5 sold at auction here just the past couple months. And the average auction price on those 5 has been $61,730. And I've seen them sold anywhere from $51,000 up to $80,000. Now, here's a picture of the one most recently, just last Wednesday, on an online sale by our friends at BigIron.com, came out of Neely, Nebraska, 2013 model 524K, just under $10,500 on it, sold for $64,650. Now, 4 days prior to that, back on May 11th, on a farm auction in Elsie, Nebraska by McDermott Auction Service, this really sharp 2009 model, it was a one-owner rig, sold for $80,000. And if we go back to April 29th, famous auction was a retirement sale for R&M Motors out of Berlin, Wisconsin by Wilkinson Auction and Realty. This 2010 Deere 524K with just under $6,300 on it sold for $51,000. By the way, that same auction, April 29th in Berlin, Wisconsin, had another wheel loader that really had people talking. It was this 2005 Deere 644J. This thing only had 2,453 hours on it. Went for $200,000. Record auction price by a mile. The previous high I'd ever seen on a 644J was back 8.5 years ago on an auction up in North Dakota. 06 model, 4,456 hours for $110,000. So again, $200K on that one, April 29th. No shortage of good, strong buyer demand for good condition used wheel loaders out there.
All right, thanks, Pete. Well, she's known simply as number 88. But this pregnant cow has gotten very big, not just in size, but online. We'll talk to her owner in the country next. Now here's a look at a really, really big cow right now. If you've been anywhere on social media lately, you've no doubt heard about number 88. She belongs to Clay Scott, a Kansas farmer and rancher, and Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan caught up with him to get the scoop on this very pregnant heifer with a very big following.
One post.
It's kind of a fun little deal. I put on a little sarcastic clip about the eclipse, and I saw her walking through the field, and she's a very large cow even at that time.
That started it all.
And I just mentioned something about the eclipse is coming as she walked away.
And what's transpired since is even catching this Kansas farmer and rancher by surprise.
No, I couldn't even believe what it is today. It's hundreds of thousands of people a day are looking at it. It's in the millions per week.
She's a 5-year-old red Angus cow that's quickly become a social media sensation.
It's a very large audience right now. A lot of states and a lot of countries chime in from time to time. So it's quite the ordeal.
Clay Scott raises row crops and cattle in southwestern Kansas. He says they've been talking about number 88's size on the farm since February, almost sure she would be the first to calve. But now it looks like she could be one of the last.
I am concerned about her size and the size of the calf. I don't want her to struggle because the calf gets too big. So that's why we're actually limiting her intake right now to not cause any more trouble than she's probably already going to have with her size. I'm hoping for twins, to be honest. If it's twins, I'll I'll feel a lot better.
There's no doubt number 88's following is growing, and Scott's daily posts aren't just updates, but now a tool to educate those invested in her pregnancy journey.
And so when the popularity became there, I thought, well, let's tell them why we're doing this, or what this band in our ear is, what that represents, and why we do things like that, and and just good doctrine of what taking care of cattle and trying to fulfill that mission that some have said that we need to do a better job in agriculture about telling our story.
What Clay Scott is doing in his part of the world is giving a glimpse into raising cattle in such a simple and intriguing way, and it's making connections that extend way beyond the farm.
All right, thanks, Tyne, and we'll continue to keep you posted on number 88. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.